Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Easy English Spark channel. I'm so excited to have you here today. I hope you're feeling fantastic and ready to dive into some valuable tips on how to enhance your English listening and speaking skills. Build your confidence and speak more fluently than ever before. Now, let's talk about learning English. I know it can feel overwhelming at first, but trust me, it can be both fun and easy if you follow the right steps. When I started learning English, I didn't know where to begin, but I discovered some simple techniques that helped me improve. In this video, I'll share tips that will make your English journey smoother and more enjoyable. Whether you're a beginner or have been studying for a while, these tips will help you improve your listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills. So, let's get started and light up your English journey together. Chapter 1: The Role of Listening. Hello again, everyone. In this chapter, we're going to dive into the role of listening in learning English. Listening is one of the most important skills you can develop, and it's something you can practice every day. Whether you're just starting or you've been learning English for a while, improving your listening skills will help you progress faster and more effectively. Let me explain why. When I first started learning English, I didn't know much at all. I remember feeling nervous and unsure because I didn't understand a lot of what I was hearing. But the key to improving is consistency, and that's where listening comes in. Listening every day, whether it's English songs, stories, or even conversations, helps you get used to the sounds of the language. It's like building a foundation for your learning. The first reason listening is so important is because it helps you become familiar with the rhythm and flow of English. Every language has its own rhythm, and English is no different. By listening to English on a regular basis, you'll start to pick up the natural flow of the language. This will help you sound more natural when you speak, and it'll help you understand how sentences are put together. Let me tell you a little bit about my experience. When I was learning English, I didn't know a lot of vocabulary. I felt lost in conversations, and it was hard for me to catch what people were saying. But I kept listening to English, stories, songs, podcasts, and slowly, I started recognizing words I knew. At first, I didn't understand everything, but the more I listened, the more I began to understand the meaning behind the words. This was a huge turning point in my learning journey. Now you may be wondering, how do you actually improve your listening skills? There are many ways to do this, and I want to share some tips that helped me. First, listen to things you enjoy. If you love music, try listening to English songs. Don't worry if you don't understand every word right away. Just keep listening, and over time you'll start to recognize patterns and words you hear frequently. Songs are also great because they teach you the rhythm and pronunciation of words. And don't be afraid to sing along. Another way to improve your listening is by watching videos in English. Cartoons, TV shows, or even YouTube videos can be very helpful. You can start with simple content that uses basic vocabulary and slowly move on to more advanced material. I remember watching cartoons when I was a beginner, and even though the words were a bit hard to understand at first, the pictures helped me understand the context. Gradually, I began to understand what people were saying. If you're into podcasts, those are another excellent resource. Podcasts are great because they're made for learners, and they often speak more slowly and clearly. You can listen to them while doing other activities like walking or cooking. I loved listening to podcasts because it allowed me to practice my listening skills anytime, anywhere. And because podcasts cover a variety of topics, sports, food, travel, you can choose topics that interest you, making learning fun. Listening to real-life conversations is also a great way to improve. If you have English-speaking friends, try to listen carefully when they speak. Even if you don't understand everything, don't worry. The more you listen, the easier it gets. If you don't have someone to practice with, you can find people online to practice speaking and listening to each other. There are many language exchange websites where you can meet others who are also learning English. As you continue to listen, you'll also notice that your vocabulary will improve. Listening exposes you to new words and phrases that you might not find in textbooks. For example, if you hear a new word in a song or a podcast, look it up in a dictionary and try to use it in your own sentences. This helps you remember the word and its meaning. But here's the thing. Don't be discouraged. If you don't understand everything at first, listening takes time, and you need to be patient. You'll hear new words and expressions, and you might not understand them right away, but that's okay. What matters is that you keep listening. The more you expose yourself to English, the easier it will get. With time, the words and phrases will start to make sense, and you'll be able to use them in your speaking and writing. One thing that really helped me was to listen to the same thing multiple times. If I was listening to a story or a song and didn't understand something, I'd listen again and again until I caught the meaning. Repetition is key. It helps reinforce the words in your memory and gives you a better understanding of how they're used in different contexts. So, here are a few practical tips to help you improve your listening skills. Listen every day. Try to make it a habit to listen to English daily, even if it's just for a few minutes. Listen to things you enjoy, whether it's music, TV shows, or podcasts. Find something that excites you. Start slow, then increase the difficulty. Begin with content that's easy to understand, and gradually challenge yourself with more difficult material. Use subtitles or transcripts. If you're watching videos, turn on the subtitles to help you follow along. You can also read the transcript of podcasts if available. Repeat what you hear. Repetition helps improve your understanding and pronunciation. Try repeating sentences. you hear in podcasts or songs. Remember, listening isn't just about hearing words. It's about understanding their meaning and how they're used in context. It's about getting familiar with the rhythm of the language and how sentences are constructed. The more you practice, the better you'll get. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to practice speaking, but for now, focus on listening. Make it a daily habit, and you'll start to see improvement. The more you listen, the more confident you'll feel when it comes to speaking and understanding English. Thank you for reading this chapter. Keep listening and enjoy the process of learning English. Chapter 2: Why Listening Matters. Welcome back, everyone. In this chapter, we're going to dive deeper into why listening is such an important part of learning English and how it can dramatically improve your skills. When it comes to language learning, most people focus on speaking, reading, and writing, but listening is just as essential, if not more so. Listening is the foundation that supports the other skills, and it plays a huge role in helping you become fluent and confident in English. Let me explain why listening matters so much and how it can help you in ways that you might not even realize yet. Listening helps you understand the language's rhythm and flow. One of the first reasons why listening is so powerful is that it helps you get familiar with the rhythm and flow of English. Every language has its own unique rhythm, and English is no different. By listening to native speakers, you start to hear how words are connected in sentences, how stress and intonation work, and how the language feels when it's spoken, naturally. For example, in English, we don't always pronounce every word clearly. Some words blend together, like gonna, instead of going to, or wanna, instead of want to. When you listen carefully, you begin to understand how these reductions happen, and you can use them to sound more natural when you speak. I remember when I was learning English, at first I was confused by how fast people spoke and how words seemed to merge together. But the more I listened, the more I started to understand the rhythm. Over time, this made it much easier for me to speak fluidly and sound more like a native speaker. Listening improves your vocabulary. The second reason listening is so important is that it helps you build your vocabulary. When you listen to English in context, you come across new words and phrases. But what's even better is that you learn these words in context, meaning you understand not only their meaning, but also how to use them in sentences. For example, if you hear the phrase "in the long run" while listening to a podcast or a TV show, you'll not only understand that it means eventually or over time, but you'll also hear how it's used in a sentence. This helps you remember it more effectively and know when and how to use it in your own speech. When I first started listening to English podcasts and songs, I didn't know every word, but over time, I began recognizing words I had heard before. This repetition made those words stick in my mind, and eventually, I was able to use them in my conversations. Listening helps you with pronunciation and accent. Another big advantage of listening is that it improves your pronunciation and accent. By listening to native speakers, you get to hear how words are pronounced correctly, including how vowels and consonants sound in different contexts. For instance, some English vowels sound different depending on the word they're in. The A sound in cat is different from the A in cake. Listening to English helps you hear these differences, which makes it easier for you to pronounce them accurately. When I was learning, I noticed that by repeating what I heard in songs or TV shows, my pronunciation improved. I became more aware of how words should sound and started to correct myself when I mispronounced them. Listening also exposes you to different accents. English is spoken all around the world, and people from different regions have different accents. Whether it's a British, American, or Australian accent, listening to a variety of speakers helps you become more flexible and adaptable when understanding English in real-life situations. Listening helps you think faster in English. Listening isn't just about understanding individual words or phrases. It's about training your brain to think in English. The more you listen, the faster your brain processes the language, and over time, you'll find that you can understand English almost automatically without translating in your head. When I first started listening to English, I had to mentally translate everything into my native language, which slowed me down. But as I continued to practice listening, I started to understand English more naturally. I didn't need to translate word for word. My brain started processing the language as it was. This ability to think faster in English is crucial for improving your speaking skills as well. The faster you can understand what someone is saying, the quicker you can respond, and the more fluid your conversations will become. 5. Listening helps you understand different speaking styles. English is spoken in many different ways depending on who's speaking and the situation. For example, the way a teacher speaks in class is different from how a friend speaks in a casual conversation. Or, if you're watching a business meeting, you'll hear more formal language than you would in a comedy show. Listening exposes you to these different speaking styles, which helps you understand English in various contexts. It also allows you to adapt your own speech to the situation at hand. If you're having a casual conversation with a friend, you might use contractions and informal language. But if you're in a business setting, you'll need to adjust your vocabulary and tone accordingly. Listening helps you gain confidence in speaking. Finally, listening helps you become more confident in speaking. The more you listen to English, the more you become familiar with how things are said. This makes it easier for you to join conversations and express yourself in English. you'll have a greater understanding of how to respond appropriately and use the right words. I remember that I was nervous to speak at first because I wasn't sure if I was saying things the right way. But as I listened to more English, I gained confidence. I started to feel more comfortable joining conversations, even if I didn't understand everything. Just hearing the language regularly made me feel like I could use it more confidently. Practical tips for improving your listening skills. So, how can you improve your listening skills? Here are some practical tips that worked for me. Listen to English every day. Even if it's just for a few minutes, make listening a daily habit. The more you expose yourself to the language, the better. Choose content that interests you. Whether it's music, podcasts, TV shows, or movies, pick something you enjoy. It will make the learning process much more engaging. Start slow and increase difficulty. If you're a beginner, start with simple content and gradually move to more challenging material. This will help you build your listening skills step by step. Repeat what you hear. Repetition is key. Listen to the same podcast, song, or video multiple times to pick up new details and reinforce what you've learned. Use subtitles or transcripts. If you're watching a video, use subtitles to help follow along. You can also read a transcript of podcasts to help with understanding. Listen to a variety of accents. Expose yourself to different English accents by listening to speakers from different regions. This will make it easier for you to understand all kinds of English. So, to sum it up, listening plays a huge role in improving your vocabulary, pronunciation, fluency, and confidence in English. It's something you can practice every day, and it's one of the most effective ways to become more proficient in the language. Keep listening, stay patient, and enjoy the process. In the next chapter, we'll dive into how you can practice speaking English confidently. But for now, focus on your listening skills and see how much progress you can make. Thank you for reading, and remember, listening is key to unlocking your full potential in English. Chapter 3: Overcoming Fear in Speaking. Welcome back, everyone. In this chapter, we're going to talk about one of the biggest challenges that many English learners face: the fear of speaking. It's completely normal to feel nervous or scared about speaking in a new language. I know I felt the same way when I started learning English. The thought of making mistakes, sounding funny, or not being understood was enough to make me want to avoid speaking altogether. But here's the truth. Overcoming the fear of speaking is one of the most important steps in becoming fluent in English. Speaking a new language can be intimidating, especially when you're worried about making mistakes. But what you need to realize is that mistakes are actually part of the learning process. In fact, they are an essential part of your progress. Let me share with you a little bit about my personal experience. When I first started learning English, I was terrified to speak. I was always afraid that I would say the wrong thing or that people would laugh at me. Every time I had the chance to speak, I hesitated and often chose to stay quiet instead. This fear held me back for a while, but over time, I learned to push through it, and now I feel much more confident when speaking. Why the fear of speaking happens. First, let's talk about why this fear happens in the first place. The fear of speaking English, or any new language, often comes from the fear of making mistakes. When you speak, you're putting yourself out there. You're expressing thoughts and ideas, and there's a possibility that you might not get it exactly right. This fear can make you anxious, and it can even stop you from trying to speak at all. Another reason for this fear is the fear of judgment. You might worry about how others will perceive your speaking skills. Maybe you're afraid they'll notice your accent, your grammar mistakes, or that you won't be able to say what you want to say. These fears are completely natural, but the reality is that everyone who speaks a second language has gone through the same thing. Even native speakers make mistakes in their own language. The importance of speaking and facing your fear. The truth is, you cannot improve your speaking skills without actually speaking. It sounds simple, but this is a big truth that many learners overlook. When we were babies, we didn't learn to speak by reading or writing. We learned by listening and then trying to speak, even if it was imperfect at first. The same principle applies to learning English. You need to practice speaking to improve. Here's why overcoming the fear of speaking is so important. When you speak, you're practicing how to use the words you've learned in a real context. Speaking helps you build fluency, strengthen your vocabulary, and learn how to express yourself clearly. Every time you speak, you are one step closer to fluency. Let's take a moment to reflect on something important. No one is born fluent in any language. We all start as beginners, and it's through speaking and making mistakes that we grow. So, while the fear is normal, it's also something you need to overcome in order to progress. 3. How to overcome the fear of speaking. Now, let's dive into some strategies that helped me overcome my fear of speaking English, and I believe they can help you too. Start small and build gradually. You don't have to start speaking in front of a crowd or have a long conversation right away. Start small. Speak to yourself in English. Talk about simple things like what you did today or what you're planning to do. For example, every morning, I would say things like, "Today I'm going to the park," or "I'm going to cook lunch." At first it felt strange, but it helped me get comfortable using English without worrying about other people's judgment. Gradually, as you get used to speaking to yourself, try practicing with a friend, a family member, or a tutor. Speaking with someone you trust can ease the pressure and give you the confidence you need to continue practicing. Over time, you can increase the difficulty and the length of your conversations. B. Practice speaking every day. The more you practice, the more confident you will become. Set aside time each day to speak English. Even if it's just for a few minutes, speaking every day will help you feel more comfortable. Don't wait for the perfect moment to speak. Just start. When I was learning, I would set a goal to speak in English for 10 minutes every day. Over time, I extended that to 15, then 20 minutes, and eventually, speaking in English became second nature to me. C. Don't be afraid of mistakes. This is the most important tip I can give you. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Mistakes are a natural part of the learning process, and they're something you can learn from. The more mistakes you make, the more you will learn and improve. When I started speaking English, I made a lot of mistakes. At first, I was embarrassed when I made a mistake, but I quickly learned that it was part of the process. Everyone, even native speakers, makes mistakes. What matters is that you keep going, learn from those mistakes, and improve. Think of mistakes as opportunities to grow. If you make a mistake, don't dwell on it. Simply correct it and move forward. The important thing is that you're speaking and you're improving every time you do. D. Focus on communication, not perfection. Remember, the goal of speaking is communication, not perfection. No one speaks perfectly all the time, and the people you speak to will care more about what you're trying to say rather than how perfectly you say it. Focus on getting your message across clearly rather than stressing over every single word or grammar mistake. When I was learning, I stopped worrying so much about getting everything perfect. Instead, I focused on making sure I was understood. This mindset helped me feel more relaxed and confident in my speaking. Use positive affirmations. Another strategy that helped me was using positive affirmations. Every time I felt nervous or scared, I would tell myself, I am improving. I am getting better every day. Positive thinking can help calm your nerves and boost your confidence. It's amazing how much of a difference a positive attitude can make. F. Join a speaking group or language exchange. If you're still feeling scared, consider joining a speaking group or a language exchange program. These groups are designed for learners like you and provide a safe environment where everyone is in the same boat. Practicing with others who are also learning English can be reassuring. You're all there to make progress together, and you'll likely feel less nervous when you know that everyone is making mistakes. G. Celebrate your progress. Finally, remember to celebrate your progress no matter how small. Every time you speak, you are getting better. Whether you're speaking with a friend, having a conversation with a tutor, or simply talking to yourself in the mirror, every bit of practice counts. Acknowledge your improvement and reward yourself for stepping out of your comfort zone. A final thought on overcoming fear. The fear of speaking can be overwhelming, but it's also completely normal. Remember that speaking is an essential part of learning English, and the more you do it, the easier it will become. Be patient with yourself, take small steps, and embrace your mistakes as part of the learning process. The key to overcoming fear is to practice consistently, stay positive, and remind yourself that you are growing with every word you speak. Thank you for reading this chapter. In the next one, we will dive deeper into building your speaking skills and how you can take your conversations to the next level. But for now, keep practicing and remember, you're doing great. Chapter 4: Reading for Progress. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Chapter 4, where we're going to dive deep into the power of reading and why it's one of the most effective tools for making progress in English. If you've been following along so far, you've already started working on your listening and speaking skills, and now it's time to focus on reading. Reading might seem like something that's less important than speaking or listening, but trust me, it's just as critical in improving your English. It helps you build your vocabulary, understand sentence structures, improve grammar, and much more. So let's take a look at why reading matters and how you can use it to make great progress in your English learning journey. Why reading is so important. Reading is essential because it exposes you to language in context. When you read in English, you're not only learning individual words, but you're also seeing how those words are used in sentences. This is key for understanding grammar, sentence structure, and the natural flow of language. For example, when you read a sentence like, "She gave him the book," you're learning how English sentences are put together. You're seeing how the subject, verb, and object work together. You're also being exposed to new vocabulary that you may not have learned in your textbooks. It's all about learning in context, and that's what reading offers you. When I first started learning English, I didn't know many words, but as I started reading more, I began recognizing words I had learned and seeing how they were used in sentences. It wasn't just about memorizing vocabulary. It was about seeing those words in action, which made them stick in my mind much more effectively. How reading helps you build vocabulary. One of the greatest benefits of reading is that it helps you expand your vocabulary. As you read, you'll come across new words. Some of them might be familiar, while others might be completely new to you. When you read in context, it's easier to understand the meaning of those words. Let me explain how this works. If you come across a word you don't know, try to guess its meaning based on the surrounding words. This is called context clues. For example, if you're reading the sentence, "The trees were swaying in the breeze," and you don't know what swaying means, you can guess that it has something to do with movement, because the trees are moving in the breeze. This guesswork helps you retain new words much better than simply looking them up in a dictionary. Once you understand the meaning of a new word, it's essential to practice using it. Try writing it down and then use it in a sentence of your own. The more you use a new word, the more likely you are to remember it and incorporate it into your active vocabulary. Improving grammar through reading. Another great benefit of reading is that it helps improve your grammar. Grammar might seem like a set of rules to follow, but reading helps you see those rules in action. By reading various texts, you'll see how different sentence structures are used, how tenses are applied, and how punctuation is used to create meaning. For example, when you read, you'll notice how verbs change depending on whether the sentence is in the past, present, or future tense. You'll also see how questions are formed or how negative sentences are created. By seeing these structures in action, you'll start to internalize the rules without even thinking about it. In my own experience, reading helped me understand English sentence structure in a way that I couldn't fully grasp through just studying grammar rules. It's one thing to memorize grammar rules, but it's another to see those rules applied in real sentences, which makes it easier to understand and use them in your own speech and writing. Reading enhances your writing skills. Did you know that reading can actually help you become a better writer? The more you read, the more you learn how sentences are constructed, how ideas flow, and how vocabulary is used to express different thoughts. When you read good writing, you start to notice how paragraphs are organized and how ideas are linked together. This is something you can apply to your own writing. When I was learning English, I made it a habit to read everything I could get my hands on. Books, articles, blogs, anything. Over time, I noticed that my own writing improved. I was able to write clearer sentences, organize my thoughts better, and use a wider range of vocabulary. So, if you want to improve your writing, reading is one of the best things you can do. The more you read, the more you'll develop a feel for the language. You'll begin to instinctively know what sounds right and what doesn't, and you'll have a larger toolkit of vocabulary and grammar to work with. 5. Where to start? Choosing the right reading materials. Now, let's talk about how to get started with reading. If you're just beginning to learn English, it's important to start with materials that are suitable for your level. Don't jump straight into complex novels or academic papers. They might be overwhelming. Start with simple books, stories, or articles that use basic vocabulary and sentence structures. Children's books are a great place to start. They often have simple language and they usually come with pictures that can help you understand the meaning of the words. As you become more confident, you can gradually move on to more advanced materials, like short stories or novels. Another great option is to read graded readers, which are books specifically designed for learners of English. These books are written at different levels of difficulty, so you can choose one that's appropriate for your current level. They also often include a glossary of difficult words, which makes it easier to understand. If you're not into books, don't worry. You can read articles, blogs, or news websites that are written for English learners. These websites often use simplified language and are a great way to practice your reading skills without feeling overwhelmed. Setting realistic reading goals. Just like with listening and speaking, setting realistic reading goals will help you make steady progress. Don't aim to read an entire novel in one day. Instead, try to set smaller, achievable goals, like reading 1 page a day or finishing 1 chapter by the end of the week. When I was learning, I set a goal to read for 10-15 minutes every day. It didn't matter how much I read during that time. What mattered was that I made it a daily habit. Over time, I found that I was reading more and more, and I began to enjoy it much more than I expected. As you progress, you can start reading more challenging materials, but remember, consistency is key. Don't pressure yourself to read fast. Focus on understanding what you read, and the speed will come naturally over time. Don't worry if you don't understand everything. One of the most common concerns I hear from English learners is that they don't understand everything they read. And you know what? That's okay. Don't be discouraged if you don't understand every word or sentence. Even native speakers don't understand everything they read, especially when it comes to unfamiliar topics or complex language. Instead of getting frustrated, use this as an opportunity to learn. When you come across a word or phrase you don't understand, try to figure it out based on the context. Look it up in the dictionary or use an app that helps you translate unfamiliar words. Over time, you'll find that your ability to understand difficult texts will improve. How to make reading fun and engaging. Reading doesn't have to feel like a chore. To keep yourself motivated, choose topics or genres that you enjoy. If you like animals, try reading books or articles about animals. If you love sports, read stories or news about your favorite teams or athletes. When you read about topics that interest you, learning becomes much more enjoyable. I found that reading about things I was passionate about kept me engaged and motivated to read every day. Plus, I learned vocabulary that I could actually use in real-life conversations. Conclusion. To wrap things up, reading is one of the most powerful tools for improving your English. It helps you expand your vocabulary, understand grammar, improve your writing, and develop a deeper understanding of how the language works. The more you read, the more you'll improve. so make reading a daily habit. Start with easy materials, set small goals, and don't worry if you don't understand everything right away. Keep going, and soon you'll notice a huge difference in your English skills. In the next chapter, we'll focus on writing and how it can help you apply what you've learned. But for now, keep reading, enjoy the process, and celebrate every step of your progress. Thank you for reading this chapter, and I hope it inspires you to dive into the world of reading. Keep going, and let's continue making progress together. Chapter 5. Writing to Improve. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Chapter 5, where we'll dive into the power of writing in improving your English skills. Now, you might be thinking, writing? But I want to speak and understand better, not just write. And I totally get that. However, writing plays a crucial role in helping you improve your English in ways you might not have thought about yet. Writing is more than just putting words on paper. It's an active way to use the language, process what you've learned, and express your ideas. Writing helps you reinforce vocabulary, practice grammar, and improve clarity and organization in your thoughts. In this chapter, I'll explain why writing is so important, and I'll share some practical strategies that can help you use writing to improve your English skills. Let's get started. 1. Why writing is important for improving your English. Writing plays a significant role in reinforcing everything you learn. When you write in English, you have to actively think about the words and grammar you've learned, which helps to make those concepts stick. The process of writing forces you to recall vocabulary, check your understanding of grammar, and think about how to structure your sentences correctly. When you write, you're not just practicing spelling or grammar rules. You're also practicing how to express your thoughts clearly. Writing helps you become more aware of how sentences are formed, how ideas connect, and how you can express complex thoughts using simple language. Let's talk about how writing can actually help you with the core skills of English. Vocabulary. When you write, you need to choose words carefully. Writing gives you a chance to reinforce new vocabulary and expand your active word bank. The more you write, the more words you use in context, and that's how you'll remember them. Grammar. Writing helps you practice the rules of grammar. You'll naturally pay more attention to things like word order, verb tenses, punctuation, and sentence structure. By writing regularly, you'll internalize these rules much faster. Fluency. Writing regularly helps build fluency. Even if you're not speaking, writing helps your brain get used to forming sentences quickly. Over time, this will make it easier for you to speak more fluently as well. Clarity of thought. Writing helps you organize your ideas and present them in a clear, logical order. This is important for both speaking and writing, as the more you practice organizing your thoughts, the better you will become at doing so in real-time conversations. Writing helps you retain information. One of the most powerful aspects of writing is how it helps you retain information. Studies have shown that when you write something down, you're more likely to remember it than if you just read it or heard it. This is because writing engages more parts of your brain and forces you to process the information. When I was learning English, I noticed that every time I wrote down new words or phrases, I remembered them better. I would keep a small notebook where I wrote down the words I encountered during my reading or listening. I also made it a habit to use those new words in my writing. This helped me remember the words not just passively, but actively, making them easier to use when speaking. How to get started with writing. If you're not sure how to begin writing, don't worry. The key is to start small and keep it simple. Writing doesn't need to be overwhelming. Start by writing short sentences or paragraphs about things you know well. As you become more comfortable, you can start writing longer pieces, like short stories, diary entries, or essays. Let's break down some simple ways to get started. Start with daily writing. One of the best ways to improve your writing skills is by writing every day. Even if it's just for 10-15 minutes, regular practice will help you improve significantly. You can start by writing about your day. For example, write about what you had for breakfast, what you did in the morning, or what you plan to do tomorrow. The goal is to form the habit of writing in English daily. When I first started, I would write about anything that happened in my day. For example, this morning I woke up early. I had coffee and read a book. Then I went for a walk. It was simple, but it helped me practice constructing sentences and using basic vocabulary. B. Keep a journal or diary. Keeping a journal is a great way to practice writing. A journal allows you to write about anything you like, your feelings, thoughts, goals, or daily events. The beauty of journaling is that it's private, so you don't have to worry about making mistakes. You can freely express yourself in English without pressure. You can write about anything that interests you, your favorite movies, what you did on the weekend, your dreams for the future, or even a recent trip. I found that writing about things I was passionate about made it more enjoyable and motivating. C. Write short stories or essays. Once you feel more comfortable with writing, you can start writing short stories or essays. Try writing about a topic that interests you. It could be a personal experience, a made-up story, or even a review of something you've recently read or watched. Writing short stories or essays will help you practice organizing your thoughts and expressing ideas clearly. Don't worry about making everything perfect at first. Just focus on getting your ideas down on paper, and you can always revise and improve later. Don't worry about perfection. One of the biggest barriers to writing is the fear of making mistakes. But let me tell you something. Mistakes are part of the learning process. You don't have to be perfect, and it's okay to make errors while you're writing. The goal of writing is not to be flawless, but to practice using the language and improving your skills. When I first started writing in English, I made a lot of mistakes. Grammar mistakes, spelling errors, awkward phrasing. But the key was that I kept writing. Over time, I began to notice the mistakes I was making, and I learned how to correct them. The more I practiced, the fewer mistakes I made, and the more confident I became in my writing. If you're unsure about your grammar or spelling, don't be afraid to check things. Use a dictionary, grammar apps, or ask a friend to review your writing. But the most important thing is to keep writing. Use writing to learn vocabulary. Another way to improve through writing is by actively using new vocabulary. After you learn a new word, try to incorporate it into your writing. For example, let's say you've learned the word adventure. You could write, I had an adventure last weekend when I went hiking in the mountains. By using the word in your writing, you reinforce its meaning and help commit it to memory. You can also create vocabulary lists or flashcards of words you've learned and try using them in different sentences or contexts. The more you use new vocabulary in your writing, the easier it will be to remember and use it when speaking or writing in the future. Read your writing aloud. Once you've written something, read it aloud. This is an excellent way to practice your pronunciation and sentence flow. When you read your writing aloud, you'll also notice if something doesn't sound quite right, or if there's a part of the sentence that's awkward. This will help you refine your writing and improve both your writing and speaking skills at the same time. I used to read my journal entries aloud, and this helped me catch any mistakes or awkward phrasing. It also made me more comfortable speaking in English, as I got used to saying the words I had written. Get feedback and revise. Once you've written something, try to get feedback from others. This can be a teacher, a friend, or even an online language exchange partner. Feedback is a valuable way to see where you can improve and what mistakes you might be making. Don't take corrections personally. Use them as an opportunity to learn and get better. After receiving feedback, revise your writing. Editing is an important part of writing because it allows you to refine your work and make it clearer. By constantly revising and improving, you'll start noticing areas where you can improve your writing, such as sentence structure, vocabulary use, or grammar. Set writing goals. To keep yourself motivated and track your progress, set achievable writing goals. For example, you might aim to write one journal entry a day or finish one short story a week. As you hit your goals, you'll see how much progress you're making, which will motivate you to keep going. Conclusion. Writing is one of the most powerful ways to improve your English. It helps you practice grammar, expand your vocabulary, and develop clarity of thought. Whether you're writing simple sentences, keeping a journal, or crafting short stories, writing regularly will help you improve faster than you might think. Remember, writing is a process. Don't worry about perfection. Focus on progress. The more you write, the more confident you'll become in expressing your thoughts in English. Keep challenging yourself, keep practicing, and enjoy the journey. Thank you for reading this chapter. In the next chapter, we'll discuss how to build your confidence in speaking English. But for now, grab your pen, start writing, and let's continue improving together. Chapter 6. Gaining Confidence in Speaking. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chapter 6, where we focus on one of the most important aspects of learning a new language, gaining confidence in speaking. For many learners, speaking is the most intimidating skill. The fear of making mistakes, not being understood, or sounding wrong often holds us back from practicing speaking. But let me tell you something. Confidence in speaking comes with practice, and it's something you can definitely build over time. In this chapter, we'll explore the importance of building confidence in speaking, how to overcome the fear of speaking, and some practical steps you can take to feel more comfortable speaking English every day. Why confidence in speaking is so important. You might have noticed that speaking is often the skill that most people want to improve the most. That's because speaking is what helps you communicate with others in real-life situations. Whether you're traveling, working, or just meeting new people, speaking is essential. But in order to speak effectively, you need confidence. Speaking is also a skill that gets better the more you practice. It's one thing to know words and grammar, but it's another to use them in real conversations. Confidence in speaking allows you to use what you've learned without hesitation. The more confident you feel, the more willing you are to speak up, which ultimately makes you better at it. When I first started speaking English, I was incredibly nervous. I was scared that I would make mistakes, or that people would not understand me. But as I practiced more and more, I realized that the fear of speaking was holding me back, not the language itself. Once I started pushing past my fears and speaking more often, my confidence grew, and my speaking skills improved dramatically. Why do we feel nervous about speaking? It's completely normal to feel nervous when speaking a new language, and you're not alone. Many learners experience fear when it comes to speaking, and it's often due to a few common reasons. Fear of making mistakes. We often fear speaking because we don't want to make mistakes in front of others. We worry that we'll say something wrong or use incorrect grammar, which might make us feel embarrassed. But here's the truth. Mistakes are part of the process, and they are the best way to learn. Every time you make a mistake, you're one step closer to mastering the language. Fear of not being understood. Sometimes we fear that others won't understand us because of our accent or pronunciation. This can make us hesitant to speak, but remember, everyone has an accent when they speak a second language. The important thing is to be clear and to keep practicing. The more you speak, the easier it becomes for others to understand you. Fear of judgment. We often feel like people are judging us when we speak, especially if we're not speaking perfectly. But the reality is, most people are focused on the conversation itself, not on whether every single word is said correctly. Plus, most people are just happy that you're trying to speak their language, so don't be too hard on yourself. Understanding that these fears are natural is the first step in overcoming them. Confidence is built through consistent practice and by changing the way we view mistakes and challenges. How to overcome the fear of speaking. Now let's talk about some practical strategies to help you overcome the fear of speaking and start building your confidence. Remember, confidence doesn't come overnight. But with time and consistent effort, you can get there. A. Start small and gradually increase the difficulty. The best way to overcome fear is to start small and gradually build your confidence. If the idea of speaking English with others feels overwhelming, start by speaking to yourself. You can start by reading out loud or talking about your day. For example, talk about what you had for breakfast or describe your plans for the day. Once you get used to speaking to yourself, try speaking with friends, family, or a language partner. The more you speak, the more confident you'll become. Over time, you'll feel ready to have longer conversations with strangers or colleagues. I remember when I first started, I began speaking to myself in front of a mirror. It might feel strange at first, but it helps you practice speaking without worrying about judgment. It gives you the freedom to make mistakes, learn, and improve without the fear of being judged by others. B. Focus on communication, not perfection. One of the biggest reasons we hold back from speaking is because we want to speak perfectly. But here's a secret. Nobody speaks perfectly. Not even native speakers. Communication is the goal, not perfection. When you focus too much on making everything perfect, you freeze up and become too self-conscious. Instead, focus on getting your message across, even if you make a mistake. Your goal should be to communicate clearly, not to speak without any mistakes. And trust me, people will appreciate the effort you put into speaking their language, even if you make errors along the way. I learned this the hard way. I used to get frustrated when I couldn't find the right word or when I made a grammatical mistake. But I slowly realized that it was more important to communicate my ideas than to worry about being perfect. C. Practice speaking every day. Consistency is key. The more you practice speaking, the easier it gets, and the more confident you become. Try to speak every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. You don't need to have a long conversation every time, but make it a habit to speak daily. Start with simple conversations and gradually work your way up to more complex topics. If you don't have anyone to speak with, you can practice speaking by yourself or use language exchange apps to connect with others. When I first started, I made it a goal to speak for at least 5-10 minutes every day. I practiced with a language partner, but when I didn't have anyone to talk to, I would talk about my day or repeat sentences I'd heard in movies or podcasts. Over time, I became more comfortable with it. Join a conversation group or language exchange. One of the best ways to gain confidence in speaking is by joining a conversation group or participating in a language exchange. These groups are usually made up of people who are learning English just like you, and everyone is there to practice and improve. It's a safe environment where you can make mistakes and learn from each other without feeling judged. If you don't have a group in your area, there are many online platforms where you can connect with other learners. Language exchange websites or apps like HelloTalk, Tandem, or Speaky are excellent places to find conversation partners who want to practice speaking English. Embrace mistakes and learn from them. As I mentioned earlier, mistakes are a natural part of learning, and they're one of the most valuable tools you have. When you make a mistake, don't dwell on it. Instead, think about what went wrong and learn from it. Every time you make a mistake, you're improving. I can't tell you how many times I made mistakes when speaking, but I used them as opportunities to grow. When I said something wrong, I asked for correction and took note of what I could do better next time. Mistakes are not something to be afraid of. They're proof that you're trying and learning. So, embrace them. Use positive affirmations. Sometimes, the fear of speaking comes from negative thoughts and self-doubt. A great way to boost your confidence is by using positive affirmations. Instead of thinking, "I'm terrible at speaking," try saying, "I'm improving every day," or "I am confident and capable." Positive affirmations can help shift your mindset and reduce anxiety. Over time, they can help you feel more positive about your speaking skills and more confident when it's time to use English. Be patient and kind to yourself. Finally, it's important to be patient with yourself. Learning a language is a journey, and confidence takes time to develop. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and give yourself credit for every step you take toward becoming more confident in speaking. When I was learning English, there were days when I felt frustrated or discouraged, but I reminded myself that progress takes time. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to feel nervous. What matters is that you're practicing, you're learning, and you're getting better. Conclusion: Gaining confidence in speaking English is something that takes time and effort, but it's completely achievable. By focusing on communication over perfection, practicing consistently, embracing mistakes, and being patient with yourself, you can overcome your fear of speaking and become a more confident English speaker. Remember, confidence comes with practice. The more you speak, the more natural it will feel, and the easier it will become. So start small, stay consistent, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're all part of the journey. Thank you for reading this chapter. In the next chapter, we'll dive into even more tips for improving your speaking skills and applying what you've learned in real-life situations. But for now, take a deep breath, start speaking, and let your confidence grow. Chapter 7. Reading to Learn More. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chapter 7. In this chapter, we'll explore how reading can be a powerful tool for learning more and improving your English. If you've been following along, you already know that listening, speaking, and writing are important for becoming fluent. But when it comes to building vocabulary, understanding grammar, and expanding your knowledge, reading is one of the most effective ways to achieve these goals. Reading not only helps you gain more knowledge, but also helps you improve your English in ways that speaking and listening cannot. It gives you a deeper understanding of how the language works and exposes you to new ideas, cultures, and perspectives. So, in this chapter, we're going to dive into why reading is so essential and how you can use it to continue growing your English skills. The power of reading. Reading is one of the most enriching activities you can do to enhance your language skills. Why? Because reading provides you with exposure to new vocabulary, complex sentence structures, and different writing styles, all of which are essential for improving your fluency. When you read in English, you are not just learning new words. You're also seeing how those words are used in context. This helps you understand not just the definition of words, but how they work in real sentences. The more you read, the more words you'll encounter, and the more naturally you'll use them in conversation or writing. For example, if you read a book about nature, you might come across specific vocabulary related to animals, plants, and the environment. This vocabulary might be different from what you find in everyday conversation, but it expands your knowledge and gives you the ability to express yourself more precisely. By reading different types of materials, you expose yourself to a range of vocabulary and expressions, which enriches your language skills. Reading helps improve vocabulary. One of the most obvious benefits of reading is that it builds your vocabulary. Whether you're reading a novel, magazine, blog, or even a simple social media post, reading helps you encounter words that you may not have learned through other methods. This helps you add new words to your active vocabulary, making you more fluent and expressive. When you come across a new word while reading, try to guess its meaning based on the context. The surrounding words and the overall message of the sentence will give you clues to the meaning. Once you have an idea of what the word means, look it up in a dictionary to confirm your guess. Then, try to use the word in your own sentences, either by writing or speaking, to reinforce your memory. In my own experience, reading has been one of the best ways for me to learn new vocabulary. Every time I read something new, I come across words that I don't understand. But by reading the sentence, making an educated guess, and checking the meaning, I always end up learning new words that I use in my daily life. Reading helps you understand grammar in context. Grammar can sometimes feel like a collection of rules to memorize, but reading helps you see grammar in action. When you read a sentence like, "She has been studying English for 3 years," you not only understand the meaning of the sentence, but you also see the use of the present perfect tense. Reading regularly allows you to see how grammatical rules are applied naturally, without needing to memorize them. For example, you might encounter different uses of verb tenses while reading. You'll notice how the past tense is used to describe completed actions, or how the future tense expresses something that hasn't happened yet. Reading helps you understand these grammar points more clearly because you're seeing how they're used in context. When I was learning English, I found that reading was the best way to reinforce my understanding of grammar. Instead of just reading grammar rules, I would read a book and observe how sentences were constructed. This helped me internalize the rules without even trying. 4. Reading builds comprehension skills. One of the greatest benefits of reading is that it improves your comprehension skills. The more you read, the better you become at understanding not just words, but the deeper meaning behind those words. This is especially important when it comes to more complex texts, such as novels, articles, or academic writing. Reading helps you practice not only understanding individual words, but also grasping the overall meaning of a text. By reading regularly, you train your brain to process information more efficiently, making it easier for you to understand what you read. The better your comprehension skills, the easier it will be to understand spoken English too. I remember when I started reading in English, I had to reread sentences multiple times to fully understand the meaning. But over time, as I read more, my comprehension skills improved. I didn't have to reread sentences as often, and I began to understand the overall meaning more quickly. Reading expands your knowledge and worldview. Reading isn't just about improving your language skills, it's also about gaining knowledge and broadening your understanding of the world. When you read books, articles, or blogs on different topics, you expose yourself to new ideas, cultures, and perspectives. Reading about different cultures and places helps you see the world from a different point of view, making you more open-minded and informed. Whether you're reading about history, science, technology, or personal development, you're learning valuable information that goes beyond just language. By reading about topics that interest you, you not only improve your English, but you also expand your knowledge and become more well-rounded. I personally love reading about different cultures and ideas. I find that it not only improves my language skills, but also deepens my understanding of the world. This makes conversations with native speakers more interesting because I have more topics to talk about and share. How to start reading in English. If you're new to reading in English, it can be overwhelming at first. But don't worry, there are plenty of ways to start, and you can take it at your own pace. Here's how you can start reading in English, no matter what level you're at. A. Start with simple materials. If you're just starting out, don't jump into difficult novels or academic papers. Begin with simple materials that match your current level. Children's books, graded readers, or short articles for English learners are great places to start. They use simple vocabulary and sentence structures, making it easier for you to understand. I began with children's books and simple stories. I would read them slowly, focusing on understanding the main idea, and then gradually expanding my vocabulary as I went along. B. Set reading goals. Reading can feel overwhelming if you try to read too much at once. Start with small, achievable goals, such as reading 1 page a day or finishing 1 chapter by the end of the week. As you feel more confident, you can gradually increase your goals. When I first started reading in English, I made it a goal to read 10 minutes every day. This helped me stay consistent and track my progress. Eventually, I increased my reading time to 20 minutes, and my vocabulary and comprehension skills grew significantly. C. Choose topics that interest you. To make reading enjoyable, choose topics that you're passionate about. If you like animals, try reading about wildlife or pets. If you're into sports, read sports articles or books about famous athletes. When you read about things you love, learning becomes more fun, and you're more likely to stick with it. I personally enjoy reading about science and technology. It keeps me engaged and motivated to read more in English. Plus, I learn new vocabulary related to these topics that I can use in conversations. D. Use technology to help you. If you don't have many English books, don't worry. There are tons of resources online. You can read blogs, news articles, and even ebooks. Many apps also offer audiobooks or interactive reading materials that help you improve both your reading and listening skills simultaneously. I've found apps like Audible and Kindle to be incredibly helpful. They allow me to read books at my own pace and, in some cases, listen to them as well. which reinforces both my reading and listening skills. Don't be afraid to look up words. It's normal to come across words you don't understand when reading, especially when you're reading in a second language. Don't be discouraged. Use a dictionary or translation app to look up unfamiliar words. As you continue reading and looking up words, you'll expand your vocabulary and get better at understanding context. When I didn't understand a word, I would stop and look it up in my dictionary app. It might have slowed me down at first, but over time, I noticed I was using these words in my own conversations. Conclusion: reading is an essential tool for improving your English. It helps you build vocabulary, understand grammar, improve comprehension, and expand your knowledge. The more you read, the more you'll improve, and the more confident you'll become in using the language. Start small, set goals, and choose materials that interest you. Don't worry if you don't understand everything at first. Just keep reading and gradually increase the difficulty of the texts you read. The more consistent you are, the more progress you'll see. Thank you for reading this chapter. In the file. Next one, we'll talk about writing and how it can help you apply what you've learned. But for now, keep reading, stay curious, and enjoy the process. Chapter 8. Enhancing Writing Skills. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chapter 8, where we focus on the importance of enhancing your writing skills. Writing is an essential skill when learning English, and it's something you can practice every day to improve your fluency. Whether you're writing emails, essays, or just keeping a journal, developing your writing skills will not only help you express your thoughts clearly, but it will also improve your grammar, vocabulary, and overall language proficiency. In this chapter, we will talk about how you can enhance your writing skills step by step, and how writing can be a powerful tool for reinforcing everything you learn in English. If you've been practicing your speaking, listening, and reading, then writing is the perfect way to tie everything together and make sure that what you've learned sticks. Why writing is crucial for learning English. You may already know that writing helps you remember words, grammar rules, and sentence structures. But writing also does something even more important. It forces you to actively use the language. Unlike reading or listening, writing requires you to generate sentences on your own. This is what makes it such a powerful tool for learning. When you write, you're producing language, not just receiving it. This act of creating sentences helps you internalize vocabulary and grammar. Let's break it down. Reinforces grammar. Every time you write, you need to apply grammar rules to form sentences correctly. This helps you practice verb tenses, sentence structures, word order, and punctuation. Builds vocabulary. When you write, you need to find the right words to express yourself. This practice helps reinforce new vocabulary and expand your active word bank, improves clarity. Writing helps you organize your thoughts clearly. It allows you to think about how to express your ideas logically, which improves your overall communication skills. Writing is one of the most effective ways to master a language because it combines everything you've learned: vocabulary, grammar, and sentence structures into one cohesive skill. How writing helps you practice and reinforce what you learn. One of the most effective ways to improve your English through writing is by practicing what you've learned. When you study a new vocabulary list or learn a new grammar point, the next step is to use it. You can do this by incorporating what you've learned into your writing. Here's a step-by-step process that helped me. Write about what you've learned. After studying a new topic, write a paragraph or two about it. For example, if you learned vocabulary about food, try writing a short story about your favorite meal. This helps you connect the words to real-life situations. Use new grammar and context. If you've learned a new grammar point, for example, past simple tense, write sentences or short paragraphs that incorporate this grammar. Writing it in context reinforces your understanding and helps you apply the rules more naturally. When I was learning English, every time I learned a new grammar rule, I made it a point to use it in a sentence right away. It helped me get used to using the grammar correctly, and over time, it became second nature. Start with simple writing tasks. If you're just beginning to improve your writing skills, it's important to start small. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to write long essays right away. Start with simple writing tasks and gradually increase the complexity as you get more comfortable. Here are some simple tasks you can start with. Daily journals. Write about your day, what you did, and how you felt. This practice helps you get used to writing in English and expressing yourself. Short stories. Write short stories or even summaries of books or movies you've recently read. This helps you practice using a variety of vocabulary and sentence. Structures. Emails or messages. Practice writing informal emails or messages to a friend. This gives you the opportunity to use casual language and practice writing in a conversational tone. By starting with these small tasks, you'll begin to build your writing skills without feeling overwhelmed. As you become more confident, you can gradually tackle longer, more complex writing assignments. 4. Focus on organization and structure. Good writing is all about organization. Whether you're writing a short story, an essay, or even a diary entry, organizing your thoughts clearly is key. This is something that takes practice, but the more you write, the better you'll become at organizing your ideas logically. Here's how you can start organizing your writing. Introduction, body, conclusion. In essays and longer pieces, always start with an introduction that presents your main idea. Then, write the body paragraphs, where you develop your argument or share more details. Finally, end with a conclusion that wraps up your thoughts. Paragraph structure. Each paragraph should focus on one main idea. Start with a topic sentence that introduces the idea, then provide supporting details. Finish the paragraph with a concluding sentence that sums it up. Use transition words. To connect ideas smoothly, use transition words like first, next, in addition, or finally. This helps your writing flow more naturally and makes it easier for readers to follow your thoughts. When I first started writing in English, I found it helpful to create an outline before I began writing. It helped me organize my ideas and made sure I stayed focused on the main points. Editing and revising your writing. The key to improving your writing is editing. The first draft of any piece of writing is rarely perfect, and that's okay. Once you've written your first draft, go back and review it. Look for areas where you can improve your grammar, vocabulary, and sentence structure. Here are some tips for editing your writing. Check for grammar mistakes. Read through your writing carefully to find any grammar mistakes. Pay close attention to verb tenses, subject-verb agreement, and sentence structure. Expand your vocabulary. Look for places where you could use more varied or precise vocabulary. Instead of repeating the same word, try finding synonyms that fit the context. Improve sentence structure. Break up long sentences that might be confusing and combine short, choppy sentences to make your writing flow better. Read aloud. Reading. Your writing out loud helps you catch awkward phrasing and errors that you might not notice when reading silently. When I edit my own writing, I often read it aloud to myself. This helps me catch any mistakes and ensures that the writing sounds natural. Get feedback and learn from it. One of the best ways to improve your writing is by getting feedback. Whether it's from a teacher, a friend, or an online language exchange partner. Receiving constructive criticism is crucial for growth. Feedback can help you identify areas where you're making consistent mistakes and help you find ways to improve. Here's how to make the most of feedback. Don't take it personally. Remember, feedback is meant to help you improve. If someone points out mistakes, don't feel discouraged. Instead, look at it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Focus on recurrent mistakes. If the same mistakes keep appearing in your writing, pay attention to them. This shows you where you need to focus your efforts. Apply feedback. Once you get feedback, make sure to apply it to your future writing. Try to avoid making the same mistakes over and over, and work on improving the areas where you've received feedback. When I first started receiving feedback on my writing, I felt nervous about the corrections. But over time, I learned to appreciate feedback because it showed me exactly where I could improve. Practice regularly. Writing is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with practice. To enhance your writing skills, make writing a regular habit. Set aside time every day or every week to write in English. Whether it's journaling, writing essays, or composing stories, the more you practice, the better your writing will become. Don't worry about writing perfectly every time. The important thing is to keep writing. Even if you make mistakes, you're learning and improving. Over time, you'll begin to see significant progress in your writing abilities. Set writing goals. To stay motivated, it's important to set achievable writing goals. These could be goals like writing 1 page a day, completing a 500-word essay, or writing a short story every week. By setting small, realistic goals, you'll be able to track your progress and stay motivated. I used to set a goal for myself, to write 300 words every day. This gave me a concrete target to work toward, and over time my writing skills improved. As I reached my goals, I felt more confident in my ability to write in English. Conclusion. Writing is one of the most important skills you can develop when learning English. It helps reinforce what you've learned, improves your grammar and vocabulary, and allows you to express your ideas more clearly. The key to enhancing your writing skills is consistent practice, editing, and seeking feedback. Start small, stay patient, and keep writing. Whether you're journaling, writing essays, or composing stories, every word you write brings you closer to becoming a more fluent and confident English speaker. Remember, there's no rush. Focus on progress, not perfection. Thank you for reading this chapter. In the next chapter, we'll continue improving your speaking skills and apply everything you've learned so far. For now, grab your pen and start. Writing. The journey to becoming a better writer starts with a single sentence. Chapter 9. Speaking with Confidence. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chapter 9, where we will dive into one of the most important aspects of mastering English, speaking with confidence. If you've been following along in the previous chapters, you've worked on building your listening, reading, and writing skills. Now, it's time to focus on speaking. And most importantly, speaking with confidence. I know many of you, like I did when I was learning English, might feel nervous or even afraid to speak. The fear of making mistakes, being misunderstood, or feeling like you're not speaking perfectly can hold you back. But here's the truth. Confidence is key to improving your speaking skills. The more confident you are, the more you'll practice, And the more you practice, the better you'll become. In this chapter, we'll explore how to overcome the fear of speaking, how to build your confidence, and some strategies to help you speak English confidently, even if you're just starting out. Why confidence is so important for speaking English. When it comes to language learning, speaking is often the skill that people feel the most self-conscious about. And I get it. Speaking requires you to produce the language in real time, which can feel intimidating. But what you need to understand is that confidence plays a huge role in helping you improve. Why? Because confidence encourages you to take risks, to put your thoughts into words, and to engage in conversation. The more confident you feel, the more willing you are to make mistakes, which is a huge part of the learning process. Confidence also helps you express yourself more clearly and relax during conversations, making it easier to focus on the message you're trying to communicate rather than worrying about making mistakes. When I was learning English, I found that the more I practiced speaking without overthinking, the more fluent and comfortable I became. Speaking confidently helped me get past the fear and allowed me to enjoy the process of learning. Overcoming the fear of speaking. One of the biggest obstacles to speaking English confidently is the fear of making mistakes. This fear is completely normal, especially when you're learning a new language. The key to overcoming this fear is understanding that mistakes are a natural part of the learning process. In fact, they are essential for your progress. When I first started speaking English, I was terrified of making mistakes. I worried about mispronouncing words, using the wrong tense, or even being laughed at. But over time, I realized that no one expects you to speak perfectly, especially when you're learning. The important thing is that you try and continue speaking. Here are some steps to help you overcome the fear of speaking. A. Change your mindset. Instead of thinking, "I'm scared I'll make a mistake," try saying, "I'm learning, and mistakes help me grow." When you shift your mindset from one of fear to one of curiosity and growth, speaking becomes less intimidating. B. Focus on communication, not perfection. The goal of speaking is communication, not perfection. It's about getting your message across, even if the grammar isn't perfect or the pronunciation isn't flawless. People will appreciate your effort to communicate, even if you make mistakes. And the more you practice, the more natural your speaking will become. Practice speaking as much as possible. The more you speak, the more confident you will become. Practice speaking every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Start with simple sentences and gradually work your way up to more complex ideas. The key is to practice regularly, whether it's by speaking with a friend, a language exchange partner, or even talking to yourself. I began by speaking to myself in front of a mirror, just narrating my day or explaining something I had learned. Over time, this helped me get comfortable with speaking, and I stopped worrying so much about making mistakes. 3. Building confidence in speaking. Now that you understand the importance of confidence, let's look at some practical ways to build your speaking confidence. A. Start small and build gradually. If you're nervous about speaking with others, start by speaking with yourself. For example, try talking about your day, explaining a movie plot, or describing what you see around you. This allows you to practice without the fear of judgment. As you get more comfortable, start speaking with friends or family members who are supportive. You don't need to speak for long periods at first. Just a few minutes each day will help. B. Record yourself. Speaking. Recording yourself can be an eye-opening way to build confidence. When you listen to your recordings, you'll notice areas where you're improving and areas that need work. It also helps you become more aware of your pronunciation, tone, and sentence structure. It can feel uncomfortable at first, but it's a great way to track your progress and identify areas for improvement. Find a speaking partner or join a conversation group. One of the most effective ways to gain confidence is to practice speaking with others. Look for language exchange partners online or join a conversation group. Speaking with others gives you real-life practice and allows you to get used to different speaking styles and accents. Don't worry if you're not perfect. Just focus on practicing and improving. When I first started practicing speaking, I found a language exchange partner online. We would chat for 30 minutes each week, and I felt more confident after every conversation. Eventually, I felt comfortable speaking with anyone, not just my exchange partner. D. Speak slowly and clearly. One of the easiest ways to boost your speaking confidence is to speak slowly. When you're nervous, it's easy to speed up your speech, but this can make it harder for others to understand you and increase your anxiety. Speaking slowly allows you to think about your words and structure your sentences better. It also helps you avoid making mistakes because you have time to think. Before you speak, E. Use simple sentences. If you're worried about speaking complex sentences, start with simple ones. Focus on getting your message across with clear and easy-to-understand sentences. You don't have to use fancy words or complicated structures at first. As you gain confidence, you can start using more advanced vocabulary and complex sentences. F. Embrace mistakes and learn from them. As I mentioned earlier, mistakes are inevitable, but they are your greatest teachers. Every mistake you make is a chance to learn. When you make a mistake, don't dwell on it. Correct it if you can, and move on. The more mistakes you make, the more you will learn. and the more confident you will become. I used to be embarrassed when I made mistakes, but then I realized that everyone makes them, even native speakers. Now I embrace my mistakes as part of the process, and I learn from them. 4. Practical speaking exercises to build confidence. Now, let's go over some practical exercises you can do to improve your speaking and build confidence. Talk about your day. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to talk about what you did. It could be a simple summary, but this daily practice will help you get used to speaking without overthinking. Describe what you see. Look around you and describe your surroundings in English. Whether you're at home, at a cafe, or on a walk, practice describing objects, people, and actions. Role-play situations. Practice common speaking situations, like ordering food at a restaurant, introducing yourself, or asking for directions. Role-playing helps you feel more prepared for real conversations. Repeat what you hear. Listen to an English song, podcast, or video, and try to repeat the sentences you hear. This exercise will help you improve your pronunciation and fluency. Record your conversations. Whether you're practicing with a partner or speaking alone, record your conversations and listen to them later. This will help you identify areas where you can improve and track your progress. Staying motivated and positive. Building confidence in speaking takes time, and it's important to stay motivated throughout the process. Celebrate small victories along the way. If you had a great conversation with a friend in English, or if you successfully explained something without hesitation, take a moment to acknowledge your progress. One of the best ways to stay motivated is by setting small goals. For example, aim to speak English for 10 minutes a day, or challenge yourself to have a conversation with a new person each week. These small goals will help you stay on track and build your confidence step by step. Also, stay positive. Sometimes, you might feel frustrated or discouraged, but remember, confidence comes with practice. The more you speak, the easier it will get. Keep pushing yourself and celebrate the progress you've made. Conclusion. Speaking with confidence is a key skill that will help you in all aspects of language learning. It takes practice, patience, and a willingness to make mistakes. But trust me, the more you speak, the more confident you'll become. Focus on communication, not perfection, and don't be afraid to take risks. With consistent practice and the right mindset, you'll become a confident and fluent English speaker. Thank you for reading this chapter. In the next chapter, we'll explore even more advanced speaking strategies. But for now, start speaking, embrace your mistakes, and let your confidence grow. Chapter 10. Becoming a Better Reader. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chapter 10, where we focus on one of the most valuable skills for learning English, Becoming a better reader. If you've been following along, you've already made great strides in your speaking, listening, and writing. But now it's time to turn our attention to reading, which is one of the most effective ways to enhance your vocabulary, comprehension, and overall understanding of the English language. Whether you're reading for leisure, work, or study, the ability to read well is crucial. Reading not only helps you learn new words and phrases, but also exposes you to different sentence structures and grammar patterns. It's also an excellent way to immerse yourself in the language and expand your cultural knowledge. In this chapter, we'll discuss the importance of reading, how to improve your reading skills, and some practical strategies that will help you become a more effective and confident reader. Let's dive in. Why reading is essential for language learning. Reading is one of the most important skills you can develop when learning English. Why? Because it gives you the opportunity to absorb language naturally. Unlike speaking or listening, reading allows you to take your time and process the language at your own pace. It exposes you to a wide range of vocabulary, grammar structures, and expressions, which you can later incorporate into your speaking and writing. Here are some key reasons why reading is essential for language learning. Vocabulary expansion. When you read, you come across words that you may not encounter in everyday conversations. This exposure helps you expand your vocabulary and reinforces the words you already know. Understanding grammar in context. Reading helps you see grammar in action. You'll notice how sentences are constructed, how tenses are used, and how words fit together to create meaning. This is a much more natural way to learn grammar than memorizing rules. Improved comprehension. The more you read, the better your comprehension skills become. You'll start to recognize patterns, anticipate the meaning of unknown words, and understand the flow of ideas. This makes it easier to understand spoken English, too. Cultural insight. Reading exposes you to different cultures, perspectives, and ideas. Whether it's a novel, an article, or a blog, reading helps you learn about the world around you, making you more open-minded and knowledgeable. When I was learning English, I found that reading was one of the most powerful tools in my language development. It helped me understand grammar naturally, expand my vocabulary, and gave me insight into how native speakers structure their thoughts. Choosing the right reading materials. The first step to becoming a better reader is choosing the right materials. If you pick texts that are too difficult, you might get discouraged. But if you choose materials that are too easy, you might not be challenging yourself enough. The key is to find materials that match your level while still pushing you to grow. Here's how to choose the right reading materials. Start with graded readers. Graded readers are books specifically designed for language learners. They come in different levels of difficulty, so you can pick one that matches your current reading level. These books are great because they offer simplified language, but they still tell engaging stories. Children's books. Don't underestimate the power of children's books. They often use simple language, clear structure, and engaging plots, which make them perfect for beginner and intermediate learners. Plus, the illustrations can help you understand the context of the story. Online. Articles and blogs. Once you feel more confident, you can start reading articles and blogs that interest you. Websites like BBC Learning English and the New York Times have sections specifically for learners, which provide useful vocabulary and clear, concise writing. Novels and fiction. When you're ready to dive into more complex texts, start with novels that are written in accessible language. Choose books that interest you, as this will keep you motivated to read. If you find a book difficult, don't give up. Use a dictionary or an app to look up unfamiliar words and phrases. I personally started with children's books and short stories before moving on to graded readers. As I gained confidence, I transitioned to reading news articles and eventually novels. The key was not to rush and enjoy the process. 3. Developing reading strategies. To become a better reader, you need to develop effective reading strategies. These strategies help you understand texts more efficiently and retain the information you read. Here are some useful strategies you can use to improve your reading. A. Skimming and scanning. Skimming. Skimming is reading quickly to get the general idea of a text. You can skim by reading the introduction, headings, subheadings, and the first and last sentences of each paragraph. Skimming is useful when you want to get a general overview of the material without reading everything in detail. Scanning. Scanning is looking for specific information in a text, such as names, dates, or keywords. For example, if you're reading an article and want to know the main idea, you can scan for key phrases or words that stand out. Scanning helps you focus on the most important details quickly. When I first started reading English texts, I often used skimming and scanning to help me get the gist of the material. This helped me feel less overwhelmed and gave me the confidence to dive deeper into the text. B. Context clues. One of the most powerful tools you have when reading is context clues. If you come across an unfamiliar word, try to understand its meaning based on the surrounding words. Look at the sentence as a whole and think about the general meaning of the paragraph. For example, if you see the word exhausted in a sentence like this, after running the marathon, John felt utterly exhausted. You can guess that exhausted means tired because of the context. Once you have a good guess, You can confirm the meaning by checking a dictionary.c. Take notes and highlight. Taking notes or highlighting important information helps reinforce what you've read. Jot down new vocabulary, key phrases, or interesting ideas that you encounter while reading. This will help you remember and review the material later. For example, when I read an article or a book, I used to underline words I didn't know and look them up. Then, I'd write them in my notebook, along with the meaning and example sentences. This helped me reinforce my learning and expand my vocabulary. D. Read aloud. Reading aloud is another excellent strategy that helps you improve both your pronunciation and comprehension. When you read aloud, you engage multiple senses, your eyes, mouth, and ears, all of which help reinforce what you're learning. Reading aloud also helps you practice fluency and rhythm. I used to read stories and articles aloud, even if it was just for a few minutes every day. It not only helped me understand the material better, but also made me more comfortable with speaking the language. Setting reading goals. To stay motivated and make steady progress, it's important to set achievable reading goals. These goals help you track your progress and encourage you to keep going. You can set goals based on time, pages, or chapters. Here are some examples of reading goals you could set for yourself. Read for 20 minutes a day. Set aside 20 minutes each day to read something in English. This can be a book, an article, or even a short story. Finish one chapter a week. Set a goal to finish a chapter of a book each week. If you're reading something longer, break it down into smaller goals to make it more manageable. Learn 5 new words every day. As you read, pick 5 new words and learn their meaning. Try to use them in your own writing or speaking to reinforce your learning. When I started reading more regularly, I set a goal to read for 15 minutes every day. Over time, I increased that goal to 30 minutes, and soon I was reading longer books and articles. 5. Don't be afraid to reread. One of the biggest mistakes people make when reading in a second language is that they give up when they don't understand something. But let me tell you, it's okay not to understand everything the first time. Sometimes reading requires a second or even third read-through. Rereading allows you to focus on the details you missed the first time and helps reinforce the material. If you're reading something challenging, don't be afraid to go back and read it again. Each time you reread, you'll understand more and retain the information better. Make reading a habit. The key to becoming a better reader is making reading a regular part of your routine. Reading every day, even if it's just for a few minutes, will help you see significant improvement over time. You can read books, articles, news stories, blogs, or even social media posts. Just make sure to read consistently. I've found that the more I read, the more comfortable and confident I become in my reading, even on busy days. I make it a point to read for at least 15 minutes. It's become a habit that helps me learn new words, improve my comprehension, and stay engaged with the language. Conclusion: becoming a better reader takes time and practice, but it's one of the most effective ways to improve your overall English skills. By choosing the right materials, developing effective reading strategies, and setting achievable goals, you can enhance your vocabulary, grammar, and comprehension. Remember, the key to becoming a better reader is consistency. Make reading a daily habit, and don't be afraid to challenge yourself with more complex texts as you improve. With time, you'll notice a significant improvement in your reading skills, and you'll gain more confidence in your ability to understand and enjoy English texts. Thank you for reading this chapter. In the next chapter, we'll discuss strategies for improving your listening and speaking skills. But for now, grab a book, start reading, and enjoy the journey of becoming a better reader. Great work today! Every moment you spend practicing brings you closer to mastering your English listening and speaking skills. Remember, progress comes with patience and consistency. If this story inspired you or helped you in your learning journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Easy English Spark channel for more lessons and stories. Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep believing in your growth. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and keep shining.